Good afternoon, fans, speed gaming aficionados, and welcome to our TriFox weekly run. My name is Vitasia. I'll be your host for today. We have Pika Pals and Half Beastie going to be showing off the moves. It's been a couple weeks. We took some time off to get everything. There were some other events going on, but I tell you what, these runners have been hard at work breaking down this game into its elements, to its raw fundamental form, and have completely broken it. When we first started doing these runs, we were sitting at about an hour 40 minutes that Half Beastie had set. Right at the moment, the current world record held by Half Beastie officially on the speedrun forum is at 58 minutes and 11 seconds, and I know for a fact that there's been a lot of work done behind the scenes. So really looking forward to seeing what both Half Beastie and Pika Pals can do for the runs. And it looks like we are getting ready to take off here. Lots of fantastic shortcuts and glitches and out of bounds that we'll be able to show you that has been just recently discovered. So really looking forward to this run here today. Some of the most important things that we'll see is a recent patch that allowed us to skip some cutscenes, which, let's be fair, is the most important thing any speedrunner can do to skip. We all know the story at this point in time. Yeah, some guy stole our remote control for the TV, and we're out to ultimately just get our remote control back. But up to this point in time, we've had to go through and sit through all the cutscenes. There have been some here and there. We've been able to get around it. However, now both Half Beastie and Pika are well on their way, and we can skip a lot of these cutscenes. And as expected, going to go with the uh, Warrior perk to start off with, just because the dash is so good early on. And we see Half Beastie already making plays to get around here and move as quickly as he possibly can, and to get his first attacking ability, which will be, the warrior hammer, which is just fantastic. It does require a little bit of up close melee use, but it does have kind of a frontal cone effect. So, not quite as safe as some of the engineer or mage abilities, but when it comes for damage, ooh, and Half BC took a bit of a dive. Has to farm at least some of these coins. The important thing is making sure that you have enough coins built up to get some of the more important abilities. Most importantly, is going to be over on the engine. But Half BC is already through, and Pika's also been working really hard on the speed run as well. So you see him kind of right on Half BC's tail here. Now, the nice thing, Half BC is going right into World 1-1. Does not have to do any more unlocks. We can get through 1-1 without any additional get through fairly quickly. There's not anything out of bounds that we can really use to move too quickly. 1-2 is where things start getting, we'll say the shenanigans start. Right now, it's just a matter of using it as quickly as we possibly can, avoiding, of course, whatever we can. He's doing a fantastic job of using that warrior dash as a setup and flat out avoiding as many enemies as we can. Pika Pals, meanwhile, is just getting started on this, and it will be kind of running right along. We see get to the skip here, and PC is running through. Pika right on his tail. It is much closer than it appears in the straight line race right now, just because the different things that can happen. Pika showing a fancy spin move. We do have to press down both of those buttons and keep them pressed down. So we have one option with the stone and the other still doing a little bit more farming. And we have our first kind of boss encounter right now, which is, for lack of a better term, just a melee rush at this point in time. We do have a boxer, which does have kind of a dashed attack that you have to be aware of, in addition to some of these other grenadiers that are out. Pika Pals, I think, caught up a little bit of time there on the previous route, so uh, definitely both working very quickly. Half Beastie through this first stage in under four, not quite get 4:30 here, but still very well done. And Pika Pals is right on his tail. These are two master speedrunners in multiple video games, really putting on a show for us here for the TriFox Weekly. And we see, we can skip the cutscenes. It is so nice. Now we are absolutely going to see Half Beastie make some purchase of some engineering steps. Probably only equipped, of course, the all important flame turrets. The flame turrets are so vital to the speed run in here. They are more vital, honestly, than the warrior dash. And the main reason is those flame turrets that we're going to drop have collision, which means we can set them down and then use them as platforms to jump over stuff. And you will see very shortly here. Yeah, we're using one to kind of jump up, and yep, we are going to jump up and kind of just set ourselves up for an out of bounds play right here on Half Beastie's side. And he's getting through it a little bit, run into a little bit of a wall, but otherwise he's setting up a few more turrets for him to be able to jump over some invisible walls. And yeah, here's our first out of bounds, and we are already to the end and on the Crab Gauntlet. Pika Pals looks like he is setting himself up shortly as well. The nice thing about the Crab Gauntlet is using the warrior kind of main attack. You can still drop some flame turrets and they will help kill some of the crabs, but your main melee weapon is still very effective because it does just so much damage to these low-level crabs. And Pika Pals is also through the first skip. Alright, so Half Beastie is finishing up this second Crab Gauntlet. There's two total Crab Gauntlets here. They go very quickly with the warrior flame turret combo. It's about smartly placing all of these flame turrets so they're doing maximum damage to as many of the crabs as they show up, and then setting ourselves up for in the boss area immediately when that boss spawns, so that we'll be able to have all of our turrets laid down to be able to just melt this final boss. Pika getting Crabs 2 rolling at this point. And there's a little bit of a delay just trying to wait for these crabs to spawn and immediately die. So Crabs 2 is now down for Half Beastie. Pika Pals is on his way as well. And here comes boss number 1. This entire stage was the first. This was the intro level, the demo level that I think when the game first came out, everyone got to see. So there's lots of practice being done on this particular boss, and lots of other optimizations that have been placed. And I tell you, Half Beastie and Pika Pals are really using that knowledge here. And the boss is just melting. It's not even close here. and it goes down. We are sub 9 minutes already going through world 1, 2. So we have world 1, 3, and then the final boss. Big shout out. It looks like we have a couple first time chatters, Dr. No and Selkuth Mind. I know Cell has been active in the TriFox Discord channel over there, doing his very first speed run. I think was showing his times. Cell, this is welcome over here to Speed Gaming. Half BC now on the basketball level where we are laying things down and trying to jump as quickly through here. This is very much, I like to call the third level in every TriFox level that we have the trap level, because it always involves us going through the game, activating some sort of trap where we fall into the ground and have to go through an underground layer. Like, that's just how the third level works in every TriFox level. Pika Pals looks like he's starting 3-2 right now. In the meantime, Half Beastie is... This is a cutscene that we can't quite trigger. And hey look! Level 1-3. We cracked the ground and are falling into the underground. Hey! So in our first foray into the underground, we have Half Beastie who's now going through. We have a couple more, this diverges. We have to get the different platforms to align in order to open up each side. We have to knock out both sides. And of course, there's some other enemies that we can kill. Normally there's a small gauntlet that we have to clear, but that's not required. So let's skip what we can, right? And in this particular stage, we're not doing as many skips as other stages have had. I mean, we're going to try to skip through as much as we can. That being said, the flame turrets are used more for their damage and less for their platforming ability in this particular stage. We'll be getting to some of the major skips later. But here we're not waiting for these rising platforms. We are going to do what we can to jump up and roll quickly. Also, nobody's got time for these wooden platforms that eventually give out on us. We don't got time for that. Let's just place the flame turret on the wall and use it as a platform. Pika Pals, meanwhile, looks like is about to start his first activate. Looks like Pika has actually set up to do green side first. Half Beastie set up to do blue side first, so it's going to look like Pika Pals and Half Beastie are in just about the same areas. Half Beastie, little bit of an issue there. Not, this is a simple basketball Half Beastie. That's a layup. Just put it right in there. It's cool. Still very, very, very quick going through here. Pika Pals certainly showing off his movement just as quickly right now. Turrets are a multi-purpose tool. So, you're absolutely right. They are the single most beneficial ability in this entire game. And I love it, because when I first was playing through it, I did not even think about using them as a platform. But that's why Half Beastie and Pika Pals are doing all the work right now, and I'm just sitting here sounding pretty. Alright, so looks like both Pika and Half Beastie are setting up and getting the cutscene for green side. Remember, Half Beastie has already done blue side, so Pika is about a blue side behind right now. That's only about a minute or so. Half Beastie, of course, the current world record holder, and we will mention that a little bit. So the goal we're looking for, everyone, we're looking for Half Beastie to beat 58 minutes and 11 seconds. So keep that in mind as we continue through this run. 58 minutes, 11 seconds. We are on good pace right now. We are just, and at this point, we're not worried about gauntlets and beating any enemies. We're just worried about going fast. Okay, Cell mentioning current world record is actually 57 something now, done by Beastie yesterday. Cell, I'm going to go off the official submissions from speedruns. That hasn't been posted yet. If that's the case, fantastic. On Half Beastie's side, we'll see. Either way, we want him to set another record today, right? Or Pika. I would settle for Pika setting a world record as well. And now we have Half Beastie on this particular boss rush, um, using that melee cleaver ability, and of course all the flame turrets. This boss does a ton of damage if it hits you, but luckily the bullets shot are relatively slow. So as long as you have good movement, and there's lots of health ups as well. So dive in, get your hits in, dive out, get your health ups as you need it. Um, Certainly Half Beastie has done this one enough, and everything's on fire. Just everything's on fire. And Half Beastie is through. Pika struggled there a little bit. The problem with the turrets as platforms is you can move through them only for half a second, and then they become fully solid, and you have to kind of jump around, which makes it slightly awkward. So now we're on the boss stage, World 1-4, which is final world is always just kind of there's a little bit of level, but then it's a boss level. And we are starting on, and this is standard evil boss, which is always I have to prove how much of an evil guy I am by killing my own minions, which okay, good for evil man tropes, I suppose. The point of this boss, though, you have these enemies certainly carrying battery cases or explosions that you need to use to really knock the boss off of his pedestal, and then you can do quite a bit of damage to him. So it's, he's going to raise himself up, and it looks like we already have another kind of battery ready to explode and get him knocked down. Oh, we missed one. That other one was supposed to hit the boss there, so we're a little bit behind right now. There we go. Now he's knocked off. But of course, every boss, you knock him down, and then he has a special hit form because it can't be easy. So he's going to drink the sludge out of these explosion batteries, which I don't know. This isn't recommended that anyone do. Don't drink battery fluid. That's not what actually happens to you. This is fantasy. But he does his massive spinning around, and our flame turrets that we know kind of exactly where he's going to go down. The flame turrets are going to go up, and they are just going to absolutely melt him between that and our melee damage. Absolutely well done, and the turrets are already dropping enough money, and that's all we need. We're not going to necessarily need to buy much of anything else. Meanwhile, Pika Pals is just getting ready to start levels. Okay, so we are going to do some purchasing right now. Half Beastie's side looks like he purchased the Mage Ball and another engineering. Meanwhile, Pika is just getting ready to start his boss fight on Boss Rush. So 19 minutes. Half Beastie already through level 1. We have level 2, 1 get started. I think the absurd out of bounds shenanigans really are about to start on Half Beastie's side, if I remember the speed runs correctly. World 1 doesn't have a whole lot of out of bounds you can do. World 2, it starts getting a little impressive here. Yeah, but we have the Mage Ball and the Gatling Gun for the engineering. Do a little bit more, in addition to, of course, the flame turrets. We will always have the flame turrets moving forward, but the Gatling Gun moving forward is going to be kind of our main damage attack at this point. And this is the interesting part of the run on Half Beastie's side, because this is where different runners have opted to switch over from regular controller to mouse and keyboard, because it's so much easier to control this particular Gatling gun with the mouse and keyboard. Looks like he's set up pretty reasonably on his controller though. Pika Pal's starting on his whole phase on boss 1-4. Yeah, this Gatling gun phase that Half BC is currently on is can be a little bit frustrating. It's when you know how well to do it, it moves relatively quickly. The problem is that there's no way to skip any of this. It's just kind of, you're on rails, pun intended, where we just have to go through this and survive, and have all of the, we're using the Gatling gun because it's good consistent damage that we can try to get out ahead of. Ika finishing up, picking up all the coins meanwhile, or as many coins, knocking through, getting as many coins. So Pika picking up a little bit more money than Half Beastie at this point in time. Be interesting to see what Pika decides, if there's a different strategy, or if Pika is going to be following what looks like he's picking up Mage Ball. Did not pick up Gatling Gun though, so instead of the Engineer Gatling Gun, we'll stick with the Warrior Hammer. Alright, Half BC looks like about finishing up here. Gets through certainly the last little bit and then is done. Looks like, based on Half Beastie's timer, I think these are internal timers that they're using from their streams. I think he's a little bit behind his world record pace, but still lots of time to catch up, particularly in later bosses at this point. And Pika is set up on the run as well, certainly doing many of the same skips right now. Half Beastie now on 2-2, and this is, again, we're getting ready to see some really interesting skips, I believe. Yeah, here we go. Here's our first out of bounds skip on 2-2. Certainly, have some issues with the camera here that you have to kind of get out of your way for, and of course, uh, some otherwise difficult places to jump up on. Okay, he's close. Looks like he's struggling to get through this particular area. Don't fall down. Oh, and this is time that certainly Pika Pal's it. You know, Half Beastie certainly has a bit of a straight line edge, and as one of the I'm going to say leaders in this particular TriFox community for the speed run, certainly has been at the forefront of teaching everyone these particular skips. Pika Pal's meanwhile right there with them, but has been able to learn and certainly doing every skip that Half Beastie has been. We'll see if he can catch up by doing this particular skip a little bit cleaner, because this would just otherwise be time that Half Beastie is using to try to get through. He's trying. I think something's just not quite placed properly. There he goes. He gets through. And this out of bounds, it saves a ton of time. Yeah, Cell mentioning the turrets are slippery back there. And yeah, it's anytime you're doing a kind of out of bounds skip like this, it is very intense. But you know what? We're already at the end. So now we're putting down turrets, throwing mage balls, and letting the Gatling gun do its work. This is where there's a ton of resources that we're using. Our mana, you know, we have, you know, a lot of. Yeah, I mean, we're using something from every tier right now. We're using the Engineer Flame turrets and the Gatling gun. Looks like we're using the Mage Ball, and we're using the Warrior Dash right now. So, absolutely using everything to get through this level as quickly as we can. But looks like we are finishing things up. We just got to drop a couple rocks on these steam vents in order to really start moving forward. And we are done with 2-2. So Pika finishing up stage 2-1 right now and moving on to 2-2. Meanwhile, Half Beastie is skipping the cutscene, moving on to stage 3 or 2-3. And as everyone knows, it's the third stage in a level, which means we're going to fall down into a cryptic tunnel somewhere in the underground, and we're going to get our falling down. And this is kind of an interesting area because it is a bit of a survival area. And it does look like Half Beastie is setting up, doing a little bit of coin, farming right now while he can. But this entire area is just time. We just kind of have to wait it out. Pika Pals is now on that skip that gave Half Beastie a little bit of trouble. We'll see. Can he make up some time? Yeah, the turrets are a little bit slippery here, as Cell mentioned. But if he can get up, struggling a little bit. Now struggling still a little bit, but he got through. Pika did do that, I think, probably saved about 30 seconds on Half Beastie right there. Not enough to make up a ton of time, but every little bit helps because the speed run does get more complicated later with more out-of-bounds skips and more opportunities to make up quite a bit of time. So Pika making up probably about, I'm going to say about 30 seconds or so, just getting through that skip just a little bit more efficiently. Meanwhile, Half Beastie is about through this gauntlet and now is going to be doing everything he can to move through here. And at some point, you don't care about the damage you take. You go, you move fast. Half BC. What are you doing? Enjoying yourself a break. Oh my gosh. Alright, so BC now setting up for enemies coming through. Well, we're going through this horrible elevator sequence, which takes a little bit of time. But meanwhile, Pika Pals is set up, now done with 2-2, getting set up for his 2-3 coffee break. And it looks like Half Beastie is just about done. Just allowing a couple more. Yep. Just setting up to try to move as quickly as we can. Meanwhile, Pika is set up, wandering around, clearing out all these boxes, setting up for his coffee break here directly. And dodging these electro panels right now and set up. This is an interesting mini boss that's at the end of this level. This is a bit of a training incident for the final boss of this particular world. So a really, really great game design by the TriFox folks to really help set you up. It's like, okay, here's we're going to teach you how to do something right now. You're going to need to remember it later. Pika Pals is now on his coffee break, just enjoying himself. Well, I wonder if that's going to be a thing, is everyone during their coffee break is going to feel like they need to come on in, say hi to chat. I mean, I don't disapprove of it. Come on in, folks. Both runners on this fantastic world 2-3, just delving into the air. We're on the elevator at different points in the race, though. Pika certainly has made up quite a bit of time, but Half Beastie is just about through the level. Alright, we have a little bit of dashing around. This is why the warrior dash is so important, because you can dash and then dash off someplace and then dash again in the air. It's just a fantastic movement tool. Oh, a little bit of. Oh no, was that a death on Half BC side? Oh no, that's going to put him a little bit behind. I don't know if that was intentional or not. Alright. Still lots of movement. Back into the elevator. Meanwhile, Pika on the other side is setting up and moving through these electrified panels here directly. Great use of the mage ball there in order to do some large damage. That's something that wasn't necessarily in the last speed run that we raced. The mage ball is just fantastic damage when you can spend the resources on it. I think the issue is that it's really easy to spend your resources on other things such as the flame turrets, but you have some extra, so might as well use that mage ball for some really potent damage to get through there. Alright, Half Beastie is now through World 2-3. Pika looks like is set up, I would say, 2 to 2.5 minutes behind Half Beastie in the straight line right now. Half Beastie now on to boss 2-4. And we mentioned that previous area that's a bit of a trainer. This is that section just beefed up to the nth degree. We have electrified panels, we have enemies coming into us, but ultimately we do have just kind of a very similar setup to where we have to hit a bunch of switches that we saw, something very similar earlier. Break down these panels, be able to get and Half Beastie already set up. He's like, I know where the enemies are going to drop down. We're going to be able to melt them. We want to be able to get through this as quickly as we possibly can. Pika, meanwhile, is now on the moving platforms and is getting very, very close. Alright, Half Beastie has 2 hits on the electrified area, setting up his turrets for the final round of enemies that are coming in. So Pika is set up on the pre-boss, on the trainer boss, which is, again, very nice. Great game design. And of course, there is the trope of bad guys fighting with one another, because of course there's a trope for that. And final boss down on Half Beastie's side. Not wasting time with any money. Says, no thank you, I'm good. Didn't even drop any turrets to try to pick up kind of passive money on his way, because we are good to go. Is making some slight changes. We have the mage teleport now set up for World 3-1. Now, you don't change out of the Warrior Dash unless you can do some really cool stuff with it. And I think we're going to see Half Beastie. We're at 38 minutes. Keep in mind, the world record is at 58 minutes, and we have one world and then a final boss to go. So we're going to try to get through this pretty quickly. Teleports are a great way through this, and there's some fantastic skips that are available as we're getting set up in World 3-1. Meanwhile, Pika is still set up on 3-3, is finishing that off, and then we'll be the boss is really quite quick. And here's an out of bounds that Half Beastie is showing us. This is an amazing out of bounds that normally takes quite a bit of time, but you can tell Half Beastie has practiced this one quite a bit because it's very, very easy to mess up. I think we're getting ready to a point where there's a bit of a blind jump, I believe. That might be the next stage, but otherwise he's doing fantastic. This is another kind of enemy rush survival area that, hey, the turrets are doing fantastic work, and we are otherwise teleporting all around using mage abilities, using turrets. No warrior abilities at this point in time. The warrior dash was the last one that we had, so we're using Gatling gun from the engineer. We're using flame turrets from the engineer. We're using mage teleport and the mage ball, which great combination in this particular instance. Just really high damage output right now, and they're all going. So, okay, thank you. Blind jump is 3-2. Yeah. That's what I thought. For some odd reason, I was thinking all the major, like, big skips were always in the second stage of everything. I'm still learning the speed run too, folks. So, but you should join us over on the TriFox Discord if you want to learn this game as well. The speed run, as you can tell, is quite fun and quite fast. Involves several out-of-bounds skips, and it's one of those things. This game is just over a month old. New stuff is being found and developed every single day, so you should absolutely join us over on the TriFox Discord and also on the Speed Gaming Discord as well. Right now, Half Beastie has set everything on fire. Has just a couple more enemies to get through. Oh, it looked like probably might have taken a death there. Because we certainly restarted here. Pika, meanwhile, is getting ready. I think this is close to... it's not quite... Oh yeah, this is the final hit on the boss. So Pika finishes up World 2-4 and is now set up, getting ready to go through World 3-1, right where Half Beastie's at. Oh, there's the warrior ability. Okay, we still have the hammer equipped. You see Pika set up. Looks like he's purchasing... He's got the mage teleport going now as well. You can tell those rocketeers do a ton of damage there. As Half Beastie took a couple rockets and just melted his health. Gonna have to pick up a health pool relatively quickly. Oh, getting close. Okay, we got a health pool, so we're a little bit safer right now for Half Beastie. Meanwhile, Pika is setting up and has his teleports ready to go. We'll see if he can get set up with this out-of-bounds skip. So Beastie is now through. Pika got the skip. All right, so now comes World 3-2, and as Selkuth mentions in chat, this is where the blind jump is. This is where, I mean, it's a fantastic out of bounds skip, and we are back to the warrior dash. Our our mage teleport, but this is a relatively blind jump, and it can be kind of a difficult skip. So we'll really be watching Half Beastie as he works through this. Meanwhile, Pika is set up on the gauntlet that Half Beastie just finished. So they're moving through very quickly here. All right, Half Beastie working through. Got one skip down. All right, there's the out of bounds, and certainly looks like is doing, very, very quickly moving through this particular area that I've seen him practice, and he does it. It involves quite a bit. Here's this blind jump that we mentioned right here, and I think he got it. Wow, that was very nicely done and very, very difficult. That's going to help Half Beastie quite a bit. Pika has certainly been moving relatively quickly as well. And here we are all to the end of 3-2. This was incredibly quick by Half Beastie side. That takes some setup, and I've seen can take quite a bit of time. So he's got to be happy about how quickly he moved through that. Meanwhile, Pika is certainly on the gauntlet, doing very well, getting through. Looks like having a little bit easier time surviving than Half Beastie, not being quite as aggressive, but still moving through it at a pretty quick pace. So Pika is doing very, very well. Although Half Beastie has a bit of a lead at this point. All right, so here's another bit of a survival section that Half Beastie is finishing up. Meanwhile, Pika Pals finishes up and is skipping this cutscene, and on his way, looks like he's going to also change back to the and we'll then start World 3-2. We'll see if Pika can get through the skips quite as quickly as Half Beastie did. Half Beastie finishing up and on his way to 3-3, where we again dive into the underground as fell down again. Already setting up these skips on Half Beastie side. I don't know if I'm familiar with this one. The team has lots of things that they work on constantly that I'm not always getting up and over very quickly. What? Okay. Already destroying the crystals. He's just. This stage, 3-3 is ridiculous in terms of everything that it has available to it, all the different platforms that normally you're supposed to like go through 4 different sections in order to get to these crystals that you destroy at the end. And no, we're just skipping everything. We've already got 2 of the 4 done. Yeah, the game is completely broken. This is the kind of stuff that I want to see in the rest of the game. And I know that eventually the community is going to figure out a way to completely break the game as well as they do 3-3. But it also makes sense. You start with 3-3 because this is probably the most time intensive game or part of the game there is, because it's an underground level that has a few different gauntlet pieces that is difficult and lots of movement and lots of, I would call it, time investment. And if there's one thing that I know that speedrunners hate, it's investing time in anything. Little bit of an enemy rush right now, which is fine. You certainly want to avoid the puddles of ice because they slow you down. And again, we're speedrunners. We want to go as quickly as we can. And Pika Pals looks like it's finishing up 3-2 as well, so it did get the breaks as well. So Half Beastie is now, we're already 3 sections down, and here comes the enemies. And we're already just rushing. But yeah, we take a little bit of damage at the top. Standing on torches is never good for the health, but yeah, we make do. And here we are again using turrets as platforms to get over and avoid any sort of puzzle that we might have to go through. And it's like, no, we're just going to jump over it. And Half Beastie is at about 52 minutes now, is on a boss fight for World 3-3. Pika Pals looks like is trying to get... looks like is not doing the sequence break, is doing this kind of the old-fashioned way. So Pika working his way, well, is dropping down right now, but did not get there quite as fast as Half Beastie did. But again, it's the same thing, dropping into the underground, and is jumping over and dashing over. Okay, so he's doing it a different way, but otherwise is just fine. There are so many enemies on Half Beastie's side. There's lots of things going on, lots of things to dodge at this point in time. It can be a little bit chaotic, but certainly working his way through, and I think he's just about done. Yep. Finishing up. Doesn't have to kill anything. We're done with 3-3. Now we're on our way to boss 3-4. Pika Pal's trying to get this skip going here, but unfortunately the enemies are interrupting him and causing the flame turret platforms to uh, not work with him too well. Okay, getting through. So this is another boss that has been highly optimized right now, although it does take some work. This particular mage boss has lots of raising platforms, lots of things where you have to destroy some crystals in order to be able to do some damage to them. So really be on the lookout here on Half Beastie side. Lots of things that can otherwise be difficult to work around. Alright, so 2 crystals now down, and already half done with this boss. That was a strategic taking a little bit of damage so that he can make sure that that is placed properly. And now we're going to destroy 1 crystal and then move over. It's a little bit of a blind. Let your turret take care of another one while over to get this 3rd one. So that was very, very clean on Half Beastie side for that 3rd phase. That was incredibly clean on Half Beastie. That was the cleanest I've seen that particular fight done. So GG's Half Beastie. Pika Pals, meanwhile, still working through 3-2 or 3-3 right now. Sorry. But we have a final boss. Half Beastie enters at about the 56-minute mark. Remember, the world record, at least currently reported on speedruns, is 58 minutes 11 seconds. We did hear the reports that Half Beastie's got a 57-minute mark. We're at 56 minutes right now. I don't know if we'll see. He's getting very close. And of course, everyone's favorite part of this game, the hamster ball of death. This is a fun little part of the game where it does have some movement optimization, but the nice thing is, you don't take a ton of damage. Trying to run over, it is very, I don't know, Mario Kart-esque, where you're trying to run over booster pads to go faster. Meanwhile, Pika Pals is starting off, getting ready to start his boss fight on 3-3. Half Beastie is certainly rolling through the hamster ball. Is at 58 minutes now, so no world record at this point in time, but still showing off a lot of great tech that has been developed by him and the rest of the community behind the scenes. So it's a great opportunity to highlight and showcase that. So fantastic work. We still have a boss to beat, though. That is not an easy boss. It's not a free boss by any stretch. Oh, so here's the boss and Half Beastie All right, here we go. The forearm, horrible boss. Pika finishes up. Meanwhile, we'll have boss 3-4 still to go. We'll see. This boss is really interesting. I've rarely seen a boss done quite as clean as Half Beastie showed us just a little bit ago. We'll see if Pika Pals has been studying because this boss has gone through a few different iterations in terms of how to do the speed run of it. And certainly, here we go. The flame turrets doing quite a bit of damage. Between flame turrets, mage ball, and the Gatling gun, you can dish out a ton of damage on this particular boss. And that was a great heads up play. You can tell Half Beastie has fought this boss just a few times. He knows where it's all gonna lit. And there we go. Boss down. And GG's to Half Beastie. Hey, we found our remote control for the TV. And we are through at 1 hour and 48 seconds. That is a GG's to Half Beastie. Certainly, a couple areas of opportunity there, I think, and we'll certainly chat with Half Beastie a little bit about that. Meanwhile, Pika set up on boss in 3-4. Yeah, it looks like Pika is set up reasonably well. Got to be careful with some of that damage now. Oh, and got knocked right into one of the waves, so it's gonna have to restart this boss fight. That's unfortunate, or not a full restart, we'll say.
Well,
All right, so Pika is continuing to fight this particular boss. We're gonna try to see if we can get Half Beastie in here for an interview. In the meantime, Pika is set up. Looks like got a little bit away from him with these crystals, so he's going to have to do things a little bit the long way. But does finish up here. All right, so Pika Pal's now set up for his hamster ball, which is always the fun. Realistically, this is the fun part of the game. And as we wait for Half Beastie, I do want to let everyone know that other things going on the Speed Gaming channel that just started. We had a Pokemon Heart Gold and Soul Silver that just started over on Speed Gaming 2. Later today at 2 o'clock, right here on this channel, we do have a Link to the Past randomizer, a league. Season 5 Invitational is going to start right here on Speed Gaming Prime. Also over on Speed Gaming 5, we have another League Invitational race that's going to start about the same time. At 3 o'clock, we have the Mega Man Maker Kaizo Weekly going on Speed Gaming 4 as well. And it looks like we're joined now by Half Beastie. How's it going? I know that didn't quite go exactly how you wanted, but how are you feeling after the run?
Hey, yeah, there was some silliness in that run, but overall I still feel pretty good. Still very close to that 1 hour mark in spite of all the silliness.
Yeah, it looks like you got the three skip down to a science. That was fantastic to see all the skips in 3-2 and 3-3. But it looked like I think the struggle there was in World 2-3, wasn't it?
2-2 actually.
2-2.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
I misplaced the turret twice, and at that point you just have to wait for that turret to disappear. So that was a bit of a silly moment by me. That was just me trying to rush too much and not being careful with my placement. And yeah, so if you place that turret vertically, like just standing up, you can't actually jump on top of it and you can't reach the invisible ceiling, so you need to place it horizontally. But then, yeah, if you place it wrong, you can't place it horizontally anymore either. So.
No, but I know that you and the rest of the community have been working on the speed run for this for the past month now, and the amount of time that I've seen you guys chop off has just been absolutely outstanding. I mean, the World 3 just from top to bottom has been completely transformed. What's next? What's the next little parts that you guys are trying to work on to see where the next big time saves are?
Well, at the moment we're actually we're out of idea for any big time saves. We're currently working on some optimizations, just in general how we approach combat, how we approach certain parts of movements, just those tiny things. And there are some things we would like to see broken, but it is definitely getting harder to find stuff.
Yeah, I think the last time that we've been on speed gaming, it's been a couple weeks. We took some breaks. In addition to all the optimizations in the third world, I think this is the first time I've seen you utilize the mage ball for damage. And was that part of those, getting through the fights as quickly as you can, just because of the damage output there? Was that just something relatively recently added?
Well, basically after the last time we raced, we were looking into what's actually fast, and we definitely noticed that there were some things that could be that were just slow, and money routing was definitely one of those things that was just very slow. So at that point I was asking myself, and some others were also wondering, why would we still go for that? We can also just go for the mage ball and utilize that. And ultimately it came down to money routing overall cost quite a decent amount of time, whereas the mage ball isn't necessarily weaker than the warrior attack we used to use. But it does save you a good 2 to 3 minutes on money routing, so... yeah, the only issue with the mage ball is it's a lot harder to control and to aim to actually get maximum output up, so... Plus it's just a bit dangerous because you can explode in your face and damage yourself.
Isn't that the point of the speed run, though? Make it dangerous, make it exciting for us all.
Oh yeah, definitely. The amount of time I'm at like 10 health, just... or that health even, and just like... Ooh, let's hope I don't die here. It's that's definitely gone up since we started the switch to mage ball strats.
Yeah, it looked like there were a couple times that you were certainly sweating with the health, and I think that's the nature of the mage ball strats. But the turnaround outcome that you have when you can land it is just so good. So, but I mean, just outside of that, it's been absolutely impressive seeing how much time that everyone has been saving. I remember, like I said, the first race that we ran, you won that particular race, but it was still like a 140, and we've knocked off, almost we've cut it almost in half since that first week of races, which is just fantastic to see.
Yeah, it's absolutely been an amazing process. It's been so much fun just chopping off the minutes, the seconds, everything, and getting into that sub-hour range with some help of the devs as well, implementing the cutscene skip. It's it's been a very fun month for me. I see Picapel's just finished, so GG to him as well.
Yeah, GG. Pika Pals finishing a 109.50, certainly taking advantage. It was like watching a mirror. He was always roughly about a level behind you, but it was a great race, and really looking forward to kind of seeing how this continues to develop. Um, yeah, and sounds like Pika Pal's joining us as well.
Hey, GG.
Hey, GG.
So Pika, this has been the first time that we've seen you on the race since I think the first week. Walk me through learning all the strats, because it seemed like you were aware of everything and were doing kind of all the same skips that Half Beastie was doing. So walk me through just the past few weeks of learning the speed run here.
Yeah, basically, well, the last few weeks I was basically just distracted by other games because Persona 5 Royal came out on PC. So I basically was mostly looking up stuff the last couple nights and basically just looking through Half Beastie's VODs and seeing how he was doing stuff and trying to copy that. And luckily, most of the out of bounds isn't super difficult. But yeah, basically, I just spent the last couple nights going through each stage and seeing what skips were reasonable, what the best way to handle most of the fights were, and just basically trying some stuff out.
Yeah, I was watching along wherever I could, and you did very well. And like you said, most of the skips are pretty doable. Yeah, the only really difficult one right now is the 3-3 skull skip.
Yeah. Okay, the one I looked at and said, nah, I'm okay doing the skulls.
Yeah, very fair.
Yeah, that was about the only difference between the two runs, and it was fantastic to watch and compare and see kind of everything. Especially, like I said, how far this run has come from week one.
Yeah, all the turret climbing out of bounds really changed just about everything, I think.
Yep, and there's still opportunities for the run to keep changing. This is, of course, this is worth pointing out for anyone who's part of the Speed Gaming Discord. We currently have a live contest to see how low we can get this speed run. We have an entry from now through November 27th, I think, is the deadline to submit your times both on the Speed Gaming Network and on speed runs. We have the PB contest. How low can we get the time? First place is $300, and we have a bunch of other prizes for the top 5 contestants. So if this is a speed run that anyone else in the community or anyone out there on the internet wants to be able to run and submit a time, we got some prizes on the line. Just submit your time between now and November 27th. And we're really looking forward to seeing how low we can drive this time right now.
Yeah, definitely should be interesting to see how everything wraps up, especially if some of the more difficult fights end up changing somehow.
Yeah, some of the late game fights are still really chaotic.
Yeah.
I had to reset the fight in 3-3 because the ice giant broke the shield guy's shield, and
Oops.
that's a soft lock.
Yeah,
If that shield breaks, you have to reset.
I think this is the first time I can say that the fight in 3-3 actually went well for me. But I made up for it by dying after killing all 4 crystals on the mage boss.
Oh, that's harsh, yeah.
Yeah, it feels like all the ends, like the entire World 3, I think has had the most work done on it so far when it comes to the out of bounds skip. So I'm really looking forward to seeing if there's anything else we can find, especially in World 2. If we can that darn cart section. There's only some way to speed that up.
Yeah, well, we have been looking into some more things, of course, but I think the card section is just too long to the point where even if you could get out of bounds, you'd probably be slower on foot.
Yeah, it's you really go through a lot on that, and the cart is at least fast.
Yeah. And there's also like 2-3, the cutscene, the coffee break. That
Yeah.
room is a cage. There is no way out, as far as we found. And as far as even just looking at the invisible ceilings and all of that stuff goes, it's just a cage.
Yeah, I noticed during your coffee break you jumped into the chat and was like, "Hey, what's going on? My World 2 sucked."
Yeah. Yeah, that cutscene, like, you have to kill the few small enemies at the bottom before the alarm goes off and the actual cutscene starts. But after that, it's about 90 seconds worth of just standing still if you go upstairs, so...
Yeah, pretty much.
Well, anything else for either of you guys, Half Beastie or Winner or Pika Pass, anything for the two of you to add before we let everyone go and get on with their Saturdays?
Just I encourage anyone watching to pick up the speedrun. I am working on some guides for speedrun.com. I've got World 2 and 3 wrapped up and working on World 1 and the final boss still. It's an amazingly fun speed game. It's pretty easy to pick up. You can, even if you don't want to do all the out of bounds stuff, we have some people that are going to work on no out of bounds routes. So that's all happening, and yeah, especially with the prize pool that's up now, just pick up the game. It's a ton of fun, and come join us.
Yeah, pretty much. Should be fun seeing how low the times can actually go.
We'll see. I'm hoping for a sub 50 at some point, but I don't know if there's that much time for us to take.
We need to find a bit more, but
Yeah, probably.
55 at the moment might be in the cards at some point.
Yeah, I could see maybe someone somehow manages a sub 55 before the month's over, but lower than that would be pretty tough.
Yeah.
Well, let's see how low we can get it. That's a challenge to everyone else out there. If you liked what you saw, make sure to join us over on the Discords, both the TriFox Discord and the Speed Gaming Discord, so you can join us and we can see how low we can drive this time. But otherwise, big shout out both to Half Beastie and Pika Pals. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Yeah.
Yep, it's been fun.
It has been fun. Thank you for commentating, of course.
Oh, thank you, and thank you to the Speed Gaming Network for going ahead and helping us with the TriFox weekly series. In the meantime, like I said, the Pokemon Heart Gold and Soul Silver just started recently over on Speed Gaming 2. If you stick around here at 2 o'clock, there are two Link to the Past Invitational races, one here on Speed Gaming Prime and another over on Speed Gaming 5. That'll do it from us here. Have a great rest of the day, everyone, and we'll see you at the next race.